The strategy worked. Now, some months later and well into the winter of 1930, Madame had noticed a pleasing surge in the takings of the house. Violet Kelly was, quite simply, raking it in. Did Violet hear the chatter? It was hard to say. Surely the girl had only to glance in the gilt-edged hallway mirror to see she'd been showered with natural gifts. Those legs, the Folie Bergère smile, any girl would be happy to be half so well endowed. The thing is, Madame thought, Violet Kelly's got gifts the mirror doesn't reveal. She's as shrewd as a brown snake. Lord knows, if I was making a speech about it, though there's scant call for speeches in our trade, except at a graveside, more's the pity, I'd say that in the short time she's been here, she's picked up a bank manager's tact, a pirate's cunning, and an alley cat's knack for landing on her feet. Madame paused on the landing, leaning on the banister to catch her breath, and smiled to herself. Because right now, Violet Kelly wasn't on her feet at all, was she? She was underneath a fat Dutch sea captain who reeked of ale and herring. But he positively rattled with unspent wages. That girl would go far. The thump of boots on the stairs broke her reverie. Albert, butcher's boy, occasional pleasure house strong-arm, and Violet's best friend from their orphanage days, thrust his head around the corner of the stairwell. "All right up there?" "Albert, love, what are you doing here at this time of day?" Madame straightened. "Come to see Violet, but she's busy. There's a man at the front door for you. I've left him in the hallway, and there's a new girl waiting in your office. Calls herself Mrs. Brown. Top lip stiff as the clasp on a Scotsman's purse." Good Lord. All right. Deserted or divorced, Madame had seen Mrs. Brown's type before, fallen on hard times, a kid or two tucked away with an aunt or a sister, believed herself too dignified for their game, but wanted the cash. It never worked out, and Mrs. Brown would be sent away. "Will you stay for tea?" Albert shook his thick mop of brown hair. "Nah, have to push off. I'll stop by the kitchen and see Charlie, then take myself out the back way." "Right you are." "I'll deal with the customer in the hallway first," thought Madame. With any luck, Mrs. Brown will have come to her senses and fled to the Samaritans for a food parcel by the time I return. But when she turned into the hallway in search of the customer, she gasped in surprise at the familiar face that greeted her instead. He was older now, the stern lines around his mouth and chin set more firmly into the flesh, yet his expression was as cool as ever. Xiao Zhu spoke quickly, before she could recover herself sufficiently to demand an explanation for his unexpected appearance. "Ah, good, you're here." He raked his gaze over the expensive carpet, the fine glasswork of the chandelier. "I hardly recognize the place. Or you?" Now she felt his gaze travel her body, taking in her garnet necklace and the fine lace trim of her dress. "I believe they call you Madame now." He turned away abruptly, ending any opportunity she might have seized to question him. He opened the front door and nodded to someone waiting in the street. Madame peered over his shoulder. Two men were bundling a cloaked figure from the back of a sleek black saloon car parked on the street in front of the house. She saw a flash of scarlet embroidered slippers as the figure stumbled up the steps towards them. Xiao pulled the cloaked figure into the hallway and closed the front door. The hood of her cloak fell away, and Madame found herself staring at a beautiful young girl, an almond-eyed celestial whose face was etched with fear. Madame steadied herself against the wall and opened her mouth to speak, but instead a ragged cough escaped her lungs. "You should see a doctor about that," said Xiao impassively. "Health is wealth, and one's riches must be protected." He waved a hand, lazily describing an arc that took in her empire and every one of its souls. "Wouldn't you agree?" One's riches. The threat was made so casually. Xiao hadn't lost his knack for making an ever-so-sharp point. She eyed the girl, who cringed and brought her hands to her face as if anticipating a blow. "I don't know what this is, Xiao, but I forbid cruelty. You know that." "You ask what I know?"